hepatitis in the liver. I'm showing signs of cirrhosis. My skin's terrible looking. Bilirubin levels are so high. I'm starting to show signs of kidney renal issues. I was drinking 750 milliliters of vodka a day. Next thing I know, I'm about to die. I'm relearning how to walk. I'm relearning how to write. I'm relearning how to speak. That's how bad the alcohol affected me. If you don't change the way you're eating, what you're putting in your body, if you don't cut the booze now, you are going to be back here or you're going to be in a grave. They were setting up my death pretty much. It was like the most lowest point in my life.
All right, well, how's it going?
It's going so well. How are you doing today, Megan?
I'm doing well. So you're going on 2 years of sobriety
I am.
coming up in January.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, just about 2 years. Yeah, it's exciting when you just said it like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's coming on up. So I'm ready for it. I'm ready for that birthday of sobriety. Yeah.
Yeah. So your first year was pretty traumatic to say the least. You had a liver transplant?
Yeah. So I had a liver transplant. Yeah. So that's how out of control my drinking got. I literally drank myself to a liver transplant. Which is pretty crazy considering I was only 36 at the time and I'm 38 now. So it's a wild story, how it all happened. And I couldn't believe that it did happen. And yeah, it's just, I look back at that and I think, oh my God, like, I can't believe that happened. And I'm still alive and I'm still here and I'm talking to you right now. So it's like, it's been a wild journey. It's been a wild journey to get to where I've been.
But now you get to change people's lives because of your story.
Yeah. That's like the best part is that I took that experience, all that pain, suffering, and now I'm putting it towards a good thing. I mean, all those years of just neglect, hating myself, doing all these terrible things to myself and to others because of my drinking. And now I get to take all that pain, all that suffering, and kind of throw it out to the world and be an advocate for sobriety in like the highest level possible, because I literally almost died. I was seconds away from death, and I get to share that journey with so many other people, and it's very exciting to be able to do so.
Yeah. So take us back to the beginning. When did you start drinking?
Yeah. So it was typical for me, like most people. I'm 14 years old. So I was very young. I was 14 years old. I'm experimenting with, trying to be cool, trying to fit in. All my friends, my group of friends, that was like the next step, because I came from a big family. I had 3 older brothers. I'm the youngest of 4. And we're all super athletic. We're outgoing. We had a very strict father. He was a Hall of Fame hockey coach. So we had very high standards to live up to. My brothers were all super great athletes and things like that. So it was really hard to kind of want to fit into that mold. And I was more of like this creative, expressive person. Like I was really sensitive. They weren't. Like I was really like dry, witty, very introspective. They were not. So I was always struggling with like wanting to showcase my identity. And I couldn't, because that's not really what was allowed at my household. It was always like, success, do the right thing, show up every day, hold yourself accountable, like all these really high standards that were set for me from a very young age. They were kind of forced upon me, and I never felt like I was myself, And that second that I tried alcohol for the first time, it was like a revelation to me. I all of a sudden was myself. I was saying the things that I wanted to say. I was being the person that I wanted to be, because I wasn't under the I didn't have that. I had the alcohol to kind of let me be who I wanted to be. Like how it does. It lowers your inhibitions and just kind of lets you be who you want. And those younger years were fun, when I and another thing is I really enjoyed alcohol. Like my father, he was a big drinker. My grandfather was a big drinker. I'm sure his father and his grandfather, it was genetic. It was a predisposition towards alcohol in my family. And the second I tried it, I was like hooked. I loved that feeling right away. I just loved it. It was very scary how much I loved it. A funny story is the first time I actually had a beer, we were sitting around in a circle, and which is kind of weird when I think about that. We were just sitting around in a circle, like a kumbaya style, like time to drink. Here, have the drink. And we were sitting around a circle, and my buddy were passing around a beer, and it got to me, and I was like the second person to go. And it was my buddy to the left of me had a sip, like, oh, it's bad. And then I was like, what is? And then I took one sip, and I was like, and then I polished off the can like right away. So right away, it was almost like at 14 years old, I was showing signs of alcoholism, which is
Wow.
who not many people can say that from the age of 14.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pretty
So,
scary.
and so through your high school years, you drank, and then in your 20s, from what I've listened to a little
Mhm.
bit, it got really bad.
Mm. Yeah, so it really wasn't that bad from, obviously after middle school, but then high school, it started to get worse and worse. Nothing like out of the ordinary though, like just weekends drinking with
Mhm.
friends. It was, good times. Um, it got pretty bad towards like the end, like when I hit 18. So I mentioned I had three older brothers, right? So with those three older brothers, a lot of the times you'll hear stories of people getting IDs, like fake IDs.
Yeah.
So I got a fake ID at 18, which was not the best decision, and I'm sorry, mom and dad, for doing that. But that's what happened. So my brother, who's the closest in age with me, had a really close friend who looked just like me. I actually look like a lot of people, kind of like a bigger nose and a very, I look like a lot of different people. And I asked him, hey, like, would you ever like sell me your ID? I'll give you like $50 or whatever. And he's like, absolutely, because he was like re-upping his ID anyway. So he's like, hey, take this one. And so I have this idea. Now I'm the party guy. Now I'm the guy who can supply the beer to all the parties, and I'm
Yeah.
getting invited to all the coolest parties. I'm meeting all these people that in different cliques that I wouldn't normally meet, right? So I was getting more popular. It was becoming more fun, and I was really enjoying myself. It was just a great, great time when I was from like 18 to 19 to 20, and then and no problems there. That was fine. I didn't get caught or anything with the ID. I think a few times I got maybe turned down, but you think you're going to go to jail or something when that happens. All they do is just like say, get out of here. They don't really like, no, back then. This is like 2005. So they were just like, get out of here. You don't ever come back. And, I would be back there like the next week buying beer, and they would forget about me.
Right.
So sometimes it would work. But yeah, it was fine. It was really fun, those initial years of drinking. And then time to go to college. So I go, okay, well, I want to go to a school that I don't know anyone in. I want to be forced to make new friends. So I'm already a pretty outgoing guy, but when I'm on booze, I'm very outgoing. So I said, okay, I'm going to take this fake ID. I'm going to go to the biggest party school in New Hampshire because I'm from Boston. So I'm going to go to the biggest party school in New Hampshire, and I'm going to have a blast. So I go up to, I didn't want to say the school. I go up to, the people can probably figure it out anyways. What do I care? So I go up to school. I meet my roommates there, super nice guys. And I have this very vivid memory of going to it was like the first week of college. And I go in and I buy a 30 pack of the cheapest beer that they sell. I think it was like Keystone Light or something. It was
Oh
disgusting.
gosh.
And that's what we loved. And I buy a 30 pack, and we're sitting in the room just literally doing nothing, just drinking and talking and meeting each other. And obviously that's a fun thing to do because you don't know each other and it's awkward, and then the alcohol makes things less awkward.
Yeah.
So we're drinking, and I look, I'm drinking, I'm thinking I'm on like my 8th or 9th beer at this point. And I look over to my roommates, and they're just like passed out in the chair. One's in a closet. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? Like, didn't you guys drink in high school? Like, as if that's the normal thing.
Right.
And no, it wasn't the normal thing. Like, clearly it wasn't, not for them. And yeah, that was like the first sign of I'm showing signs of severe AUD at a very young age. And that would go on for all through college. And I remember my sophomore year, it got really bad. So you know how like when you're in college, you get to start picking your classes on a more free, like you have more opportunity to like choose the classes that you want to pick.
This is why I didn't graduate, because I had the choice to choose, and so I chose the wrong
Okay, well, good for
ones.
you. You made the right choice. So for people that did go to college and did all of that experiences of like going away and going to whatever kind of thing you do after college, I mean after high school, I I bought all these beers. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. I started noticing that I wasn't showing up for my 8 a.m. classes, 9 a.m. classes.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to start to push my classes back past 10, 10:30, 11. And then I would just do class from like 11 to all the way to, 4 to fit them all in, just so I could, so I wouldn't be so hungover, because that's what it was. I just didn't want to be hungover and just miss class, because I wouldn't go. I was noticing a bad pattern from a really young age.
And if you were like me, you probably scheduled your most important classes first
Oh
thing in
yeah.
the morning, and then
Mm-hmm.
you didn't show up to the like writing and math. And I was like, man, I'm not showing up to these classes.
Yeah.
I was on
Yeah.
academic probation.
Wait, you were what?
I was on academic probation at
Oh,
University of Oregon.
what did you do? Can
I
I
didn't
ask?
show up to my classes. I wasn't
You
doing
just
my work because I was partying.
so you were okay. So
Yeah.
you were going nuts too in college.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. So you were part of the. I probably would have saw you out if we went to the same school.
It sounds like you were in my dorm.
Yeah, I probably
Like, 'cause
was.
we're the same age, and like the way you're talking, I was like, man, that was the guys below, like the guy, like they were on the first floor, we were the second floor, and we were just like party animals.
Yeah, we were the party house. So I played lacrosse in hockey in college, and so we really were like the part. Like, we really went for it, and we had our own parties, and had our own everything. So it was. And I was a guy with the fake ID, because a lot of the kids, you don't get your ID till junior year, and I was already older. I'm an August baby, so I was already kind of a year ahead of everyone. So I turned 21 my sophomore year, so I didn't even need the fake ID at that point. But yeah, so college, it's going well, and everything was good. I'm getting good grades. Like, I graduated with good grades and everything. But then I noticed I made a stupid mistake. So it was my senior year. We were at a bar, and I was so broke that I would never know. I was a huge advocate, even from a young age, to never drink and drive. This is that's just instilled within me from my father, just being a good dad. And I had my car parked near the bar. Like, we used to park at like a 7-Eleven to there wasn't much parking on campus, and the tickets were astronomically high, so I was so broke. I was like, okay, well, I've had a few drinks, but I'm still gonna I just want to move my car to my parking lot, which is only a block or two away from the bar. So I moved, the one time I do this, right? I actually get in my car, drive the car back to my parking lot next to where my apartment was, and get out, get into my apartment, and all of a sudden I hear a knock on my door, and it was one of like the cop, like the university police, who are usually the biggest a-holes there are, because they're not real cops. And sorry if anyone out there watching this is one of those, but sorry, but I don't like you, because you got me in a real lot of trouble, and I really wasn't that drunk at that point. So but no, it's all kidding. He should have pulled me over. He definitely should have pulled me over. And so, anyways, he's like, well, I saw you go through a stop sign. I can tell. I actually watched you leave a bar, get in your car, and come here. So you're a DUI. I bet I could have fought it, but I was too young. I wouldn't know any better, and I didn't even want to bring the attention to myself, and I didn't want anyone to know about it. So I get a DUI there. That was like a huge red flag. That's like one of the biggest, right? When you're that young, getting a DUI. But then I went to the counseling. It was a nightmare. I couldn't believe I was in counseling for this already at such a young age. My dad couldn't believe it. He was so mad at me. Like, he was so mad at me and he was a yeller. So he wasn't even young anymore. He was just, that expression where you get like I'm just disappointed, I'm not mad kind of thing.
Yeah,
That's how
which
it
is
was.
worse. Just
Way
yell
worse.
at me, please, because
Way
I don't
worse.
want the
Yeah,
disappointment.
because he was a teacher. I'm a teacher. He was a teacher, and this very good coach, one of the best coach in Massachusetts. So he was very upset with me. My image was, it took a hit. It took a hit, and it didn't make me feel good, and didn't make him feel good, or my family. So that would go on. So I do the thing. I do the school. I call it like school, driving school, rehabilitation program that they do. But that's a joke, honestly. I didn't learn anything. I didn't take it serious. I didn't drink and drive really that much ever after that. Like, there were a few occasions, like after weddings or something like that, when I had a couple of drinks, when I probably should not have driven, but everyone kind of does that. But
I don't
anyways,
know who everyone is because not me.
yeah, no, good. You're smart.
I'm
Thank you.
joking.
No,
I'm
okay.
joking.
Okay, I thought you were serious, and I felt really shitty at the right there. Okay, I'm sorry. um, but yeah, so that happens. I'm still in college. I graduate. Okay, woohoo! I graduated. So I wanted to be just like my father, and he was a teacher. So I'm like, I'm going to be a teacher. So I go. That was my major. I was a political science education major, and I go to get a job. And in Massachusetts, it's super hard to become a certified teacher for the history because that's what I wanted to teach.
Mhm.
So I, but this is, I'm 21, 22, 23 years old at this point, and I'm going to become a teacher, but you have to start somewhere. So I start substitute teaching, and that's hard to do. I'm only like 4 years older than the kids that I was, trying to teach or
Teach.
take.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
Couldn't
like, I
imagine.
literally would see these kids out at like a bar, probably, that we're that close in age. And I noticed that my drinking got a little more intense in those early years. And as the years went on, the I started to drink more, and then I realized I wasn't studying hard enough to pass the test to become a certified history teacher in Massachusetts. So what I did then was, I got really frustrated. I'm like, well, if I can't pass this test, because I took it, once, didn't pass it, twice, didn't pass it. And the reason why I wasn't passing, because I just wasn't studying and I was drinking too much. So that was another red flag I should have paid attention to, but I did not. So now I am moving on with my life. I am realizing that I have to pass this test, but I don't want to, because I don't want, well, I want to, but I can't because I'm drinking. So what do? I try to look for different ways, easier ways to handle this, right? So I start looking for teaching jobs in private schools in Massachusetts, because you actually aren't required to have that licensure.
Mhm.
So I do that, and it's terrible. They don't pay teachers anything in private schools for some odd reason. I mean, all these kids are paying so much money to go to these schools. You would think that they would,
Yeah, I feel
right?
like teachers don't get paid anywhere.
No, we don't. Absolutely, we don't.
And
So
they have like the hardest
it's
jobs.
so hard, and it's
Kudos to
getting
all the
harder. It's getting
teachers.
harder. I don't know, like ever since like COVID or whatever. I don't know what they're like. All of a sudden, like I was, they would respect teachers. Now it's like, f off, like get out of my way, like let me go
Yeah,
back on TikTok, kind of thing. It's really sad.
it ruined everything.
It ruined it.
Uh,
It's
s-
terrible.
I mean, now I get, I mean, like I can imagine why teachers like, shove flasks and stuff in their drawer. Not
Hmm.
saying that it's right, but
No,
I mean,
but I remember I actually had a high school teacher. Well, side story, but I had a high school teacher that I caught him doing that one time, and we thought it was a
oh my
big laugh.
gosh,
And now I look back at that guy, and I think, oh my god, that was like basically what I wasn't drinking at
you were
work,
heading in that,
but
you were heading in that
I was
direction.
drinking, probably more than he was, because of the job. So so there's a stretch of time. So from like 23 to like oh geez, till recently. I mean, only recently, 2 years ago, did I finally get the licensure test. But I'll get to that point. So I'm noticing a bad habit, right? I'm in these. So I'm at the private school, right? I'm teaching, and I'm a good teacher. I'm actually doing really well those first couple of years, and I'm maintaining. I'm like a functioning alcoholic at this point. Um, but I'm getting burnt out super easily, and I'm not getting paid enough. So I'm not getting paid enough, and I'm really frustrated. And next thing I know, I just start drinking more because of it, and my
So
partying level is
isn't
going up.
that funny? We don't make enough money, so we just drink ourselves, but we can't really afford the alcohol, but we're still gonna find a way to get the alcohol.
Yeah, yeah, and it was really getting bad. Like my personality was starting to change, and this is where it
Oh,
gets kind of sad. So I had a big group of friends, like very close knit group of buddies from the Boston area, and we're like super close. We never got in a fight, nothing. But I know they started noticing that I was drinking to excess, to the point where I wasn't being fun anymore. I would like black out, would fall down, I would get kicked out of bars. I would never start fights though. I wasn't like an angry drunk. I was like a silly, funny, like, oh, look at this guy. He got too drunk and now he has to go home kind of guy. Um, so that was me. And I did that so often that my friends actually had to sit me down and look at me, and they're like, Will, like, we like you, man. Like, you don't need to be the coolest guy ever who can drink the most. Like, we wish you would stop doing that, because you're kind of embarrassing us. And it hurt to hear that, but I was actually too far in my own way that I kind of dismissed it without knowing about what the repercussions may be. So once they had that conversation, and then I continued to do what I did, I started to notice I started to lose friends very quickly, and then I actually had an altercation with one of my best friends, who we're so close. We never got in any kind of argument or anything, and we're at a bar, and I did this really sketchy, stupid thing, and I put all of my beers on his tab, and that was like and that's something I would never have done. I would never treat people less than or take advantage of anyone's friendship. Like that just wasn't me. But when I was drinking, I noticed that I was like this like Jekyll and Hyde person. I'd become like this bad person. And that was a byproduct of being that bad person, was doing something sketchy and stupid and just being a jerk, honestly. And then we got in a fight. Like he threw me against the bar. He's like, I can't believe you did that, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is the end. Like, I don't want you in my life anymore. And I was like, I don't want you in my life anymore either. But I was like, I really did. I miss you. And that was it. So I lost all my core friends, and it was super depressing. So once that happened, I started to drink even more, because that next Friday night, when I had no one but myself to talk to, I got myself a giant bottle of I think it was Canadian Club, which is like the really cheap, crappy, awful tasting whiskey rye thing. And it was the biggest bottle they had, and I started to drink it by myself. And then I'm like, okay, I don't feel that bad anymore, because it would just make all those bad feelings go away. Temporarily, right? But I kept doing that, and then I was teaching, and I was getting bad at my job. I wasn't doing enough work, so I didn't get fired. But I noticed that with my drinking, as it progressively got worse, I started noticing a pattern where I wouldn't be invited back to teach at that school. So I would have to like hop from private school to private school. So I did that for a very long time. I did that for about almost 10 years or so. And as I'm doing all this, I'm putting on weight. I'm becoming this person that I hate. Like I didn't look at myself in the mirror for probably, I don't know, like 6 years. That's how embarrassed I was of myself. I was so disappointed in who I was. So around 2000, please stop me if I'm talking too much, because I definitely talk too much.
Oh, I talk a lot too. So
okay. So 2016 happens, and I am just fed up with myself. I'm like, I can't keep living like this. Like, this is exhausting to be this person. So I go back to the gym. I cut down the drinking. I started to socialize more with different groups, like really getting myself out there, pursue this person that I wanted to be. So I get in good shape. I do all this good stuff. And next thing I know, I meet the love of my life, who would then become my wife. So she was an au pair from Brazil. So she was very beautiful, very interesting already. And then she didn't know, though, that while I met her, I still was extremely broken when it came to my alcohol use. Like, so the first initial couple months of us dating, I kind of hit it pretty well. But then as the year would go on, she would start noticing that she would come home from work and things like that, and I would like already have a buzz going, and she would say, Will, what's up? Like, you're not drinking when I'm not here? And I'd be like, no, well, of course not. That's silly. I would never do that. I was doing that. And it was really sad, pathetic, and shameful. And we would get in like a huge fight. So we get in these huge arguments. She'd blow up me. She'd cry. I'd cry. Like, and she knew I was hurting. So it was like from a genuine place. But then, I'd feel like crap again. And then I would drink again. And this pattern would go on for years, I wouldn't, I would do terrible things. Like I would just, forget everything. We'd have important dates. I would be late for them. We would like, I just let her down over and over and over. I to this day, she is my guardian angel. She saved me from myself. She went through it with me, everything that I'm going to get into later. She went through all that with me without batting an eye. Like the most patient, loving soul I've ever met in my entire life. I can't believe like God put her in my life. She really, like, God really did put her in my life to save me. So I did this for many years, from 2016. So 2018, we get married. I calmed down the drinking a little bit, but not really. It got worse and worse and worse. And then finally I get this like perfect dream job teaching in a private school that actually pays well. And what happens? The first month and a half I'm there, I started noticing that I like couldn't even function. Like the alcohol was messing with my brain. It was messing with my body. Like physically now it was affecting me.
Wow.
I was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I was putting on so much weight. I'm 180 now, and at that point I was like 230, 240. I was huge. I was like very, very big, and it was mostly just filled with just booze. So my wife's like, "You look terrible. You have to go check yourself in to the hospital to see what's up." And in my head, I'm thinking, "Oh, it must be like a GI issue or something." Like
Because
so such an
it's
it's
never the
never the
alcohol.
alcohol.
It's
No, it's never
never
the
the
alcohol. It
alcohol.
was, it's it's delusional.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
Like when people are like, "Oh, I don't have a fatty liver because of alcohol. I'm just
right.
overweight." I'm like, "Oh my
No,
gosh, quit drinking and
no.
you would solve all your problems."
hmm
Oh my
Just
gosh.
stop
Sorry.
boozing.
I
Right.
could
So
literally go on and on about that.
yeah. So I go to the hospital. The doctor literally he takes one look at me and he's like, Whoa, brother, like whoa, like how hard are you hitting it right now?" Because you could just see like the yellow tint in my eyes, my skin looked crappy, like my belly was all big. I'm like, "What do you mean? Like I'm not drinking that much?" Still lying to the doctor. He's looking at me and then he's
But do we ever tell the doctor the truth?
no.
I mean, now we do because we're not drinking, so we can
Oh yeah. I tell my
honestly
doctor about
answer.
like the my dinner I had last night, and if I
Right.
ate too many carbs or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. I'm very open. I'm an open book now. I mean, clearly I started this channel. I got everything going
Yeah.
on. I'm just telling the world about how terrible alcohol is, and just running around spreading the gospel. So yeah. So I checked myself in. I reluctantly checked myself in. My wife checked me in. Made me go, and they do all these blood tests on me, and they come back like I have hepatitis in the liver. I'm showing signs of cirrhosis. My skin's terrible looking. My bilirubin level, which is like the indicator that shows you how bad or how high functioning is your liver,
Which is why you're yellow.
which is why you're yellow. Yep. So you're becoming jaundiced because of the bilirubin levels are so high. My ALT, AST levels are like skyrocketingly high. I have all these. I'm starting to show signs of kidney renal issues, like kidney failure
Mhm.
things. So they detoxed me. They just absolutely they kept me there for like 2 weeks, and they just detoxed me off
Did
alcohol.
did you withdraw? I mean,
Oh God,
were you
did I withdraw? Yes,
physically dependent?
I was physically dependent at that point for sure. Not to the point where it was later though in the story, but so I get there, they check me in, they do all the labs, and they keep me there. They detox me, and those weeks sucked. They were so hard. I still was in denial. Like I was like, okay, well, this has got to, it got away from me. I can do this still. I can still drink, right? I mean, like I can.
Oh,
I'm not an alcoholic because I never wanted to call myself an alcoholic or even associate with that word, because every time I ever saw someone that did that, I was like, well, they're just a weak person. They can't handle it. I mean, obviously in recovery now, I couldn't have been further from the truth. I mean,
you're
that's
physically withdrawing from
mhm.
alcohol, but you're not an alcoholic. I
Nope.
love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
Gotta love that, right? Gotta love that. I mean, I'm not totally messed up in the head or anything, right? So I detox, I feel better. The doctor, I'll never forget this moment. As I'm leaving and getting my things, my wife's picking me up. He looked at me. He's like, "Hold on, come back here." He goes, "Look at me." He's like, "Will." He's like, "Will." He did this thing. He's like, "Just so you know, the fact that you're here right now, man." He's like, "If you don't change the way you're eating, what you're putting in your body, and if you don't cut the booze now, you are going to be back here, or you're going to be in a grave." He said that, and I looked at him and I go, "Okay, okay, right." And I took him serious. I did. So I
Sure,
did.
you did.
Yeah, right. Sure, I did. I took him serious for that brief moment. So I did. I kind of did. So I get home and I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm detoxed, so I guess I can do this. So I kind of did. So I went sober. My wife, she was with me the whole time. I had the
Did
sober
the
app.
yellow did the
Mhm.
yellow go away?
It did. So I did 125 days. So I had a sober calculator on my phone. I would, it was brutal. Those 125 days, I was suffering. Like every single part of me just wanted to drink. That's all I wanted to do, but I wouldn't. I was just white knuckling it. I didn't want to go to AA. I didn't want to do anything. I wanted to figure it out, which
Mhm.
was in hindsight the stupidest thing I could have done. I didn't. My wife knew about it, but no one else knew about it. No one else knew I had a problem. My mom was saying like it was for like something else. That's why I was in the hospital. She was lying to people to kind of save face, and
So she's technically lying to herself
yeah,
and not wanting to, sorry, I mean, I'm assuming your mom will watch this, but like it's just in such denial. Like
Such
that
a
is, and
now.
that's what alcohol does. And it doesn't just,
Yeah.
you're denying it, your family's denying it, and that's what everybody does. We all deny it.
Yeah, we deny. Exactly. So that's what I did. So I did those 125 days, and I'll never forget this moment. It was the hardest 125 days of my life. It was so difficult, and because I had no one to depend on. I wasn't. My wife was there, and she was supportive, but she wasn't an alcoholic. She didn't have it. She never had an issue. She barely drank. So she didn't understand like the suffering I was going through, like the physical and emotional suffering I was going through. So I didn't. So I did the 125 days, and I'll never forget this. I got on my phone and I looked at my phone and said, you've been sober for 125 days," and like a bunch of balloons like started going off. I like little images, and I got all excited. And I'm like, man, like I'm cured. Like look at this. Like I can stop drinking whenever I want. Look at I just did it. I just did like 3.5 months.
Mm.
So everything was going good. I had great momentum, and I was gonna beat this thing. And then I was listening to I'm a big hockey fan, so I was listening to a podcast, and they were really like pushing this vodka hard, and it's called a Pink Whitney, and it was only like you know about it? Yeah, it's huge now. By the time it wasn't. So so it's pink lemonade, and I love pink lemonade. Like anything pink lemonade,
That's my
give it to me.
uncle's favorite.
Oh, I'm like, give it to me. I love just pink lemonade. So, and I've noticed that the concentration, the alcohol concentration on that wasn't that high. I think it was like 30% or whatever.
Sugar content,
Oh, the
though.
sugar content's like, yeah, it's like drinking like Kool-Aid, right?
Right.
So I'll never forget this moment. So so I'm like, I get in this huge argument with my wife. We got in like a fight over money because I wasn't bringing enough home, and we were struggling to pay the rent. So I'm like, oh, so we just blew up at each other, and it was like one of the worst fights we ever had. So I was just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I just want this feeling to go away. And then I made the stupidest decision of my life. I went to the liquor store. I walked in, and I was like really sneaky. I felt like I was back in high school, like the fake ID again, like walking like, I hope no one sees me. I'm at this time, I'm like 20, 20, like 30 years old or whatever. But I'm in the liquor store, and I buy like the smaller bottle because I'm like, okay, I can't get crazy with this. I don't want it to get away from me like it did last time. Buy the bottle, bring it home. I hide
It
it.
makes my stomach hurt just thinking about it.
I know, right? I buy the bottle, I bring it home, and I hide it in my room, and I like wrapped it up in like clothes and like socks and stuff, and I put it in the corner. And then that fight came back up again, and I was like, oh my God. I just and on a whim, just didn't think, just grabbed the bottle, and the second it hit my lips, I'll never forget it. I was like clairvoyant. I could like see the future. And then it hit my lips, hit my tongue, and then it made me that instant relief of like, oh God, finally I feel like normal again. Like I can just be in my body and not be so anxious and just upset about everything that's going on in my life. And then that was the moment of the end. So right when I did that, I fell right back into what I was doing before.
So,
Mhm.
can we touch base on that a little bit?
Sure.
You went 125 days. You got past the first 3 months of sobriety
Yeah.
thinking that you were okay. Trigger happened. You took a drink and it threw you right back in
Yep.
to
It's like getting off,
addiction.
people say all the time, like falling off the wagon. I fell off the wagon, and I hit my face and scraped my jaw off because, it was that bad of a fall.
I wish more people would understand that even a sip can lead you down.
Even a sip.
Like,
Yeah,
and
even a
even
sip.
worse, like
Even
obviously coming up.
the thought, because the
Yeah.
thought was what got me there, just the bad emotion of hating who I was, not liking who I am anymore, and wanting to just numb the pain away. So once that thought crept in and I said it was okay, that was it. So it wasn't even the alcohol. It was the thought that initially severed myself from the sobriety journey that I was going on. So I do that, and then it just got out of control. I started hiding alcohol all over the apartment, like in the strangest little spots. My wife would find it. We'd have a huge fight. She'd blow up at me. I was just so lost. I didn't know what to do. So that would go on for a while, and then sure enough, what happens when you're drinking? I was drinking 750 milliliters of vodka a day. It's a
Ugh.
lot of booze. That's enough to kill you. And that's what happened. So eventually, I got big again. My skin turned yellower because my liver was already working at the like 60% of what it should have been. And I go in, and the doctor's like, "You have cirrhosis of the liver. There's no fixing this anymore. Will, you kind of ruined it. You didn't kind of, you ruined it.
I
You're
told you you'd
Yep,
be
I
in the
told you.
grave.
Yep, yeah. I thank God I didn't see the doctor that did say that, because I would have like a little dog, like curled my tail and like went into a corner and cried. But anyways, yeah. So I get the blood labs, and they're like, oh my God, this guy he's so gone now. We don't know what to do with him. And there's a rule that you have to be 6 months sober to get a transplant, and like I wasn't, so it was really scary. So I was in the hospital for a long time, like almost 6 months or so, where I live. And that hospital was like, we're not transplanting you because you didn't listen. And they basically had hospice in the room with us, like they were setting up my death pretty much. And it was like the most lowest point in my life. Like I was dying, my mom's crying, my dad's
You
there.
hit rock bottom.
I hit rock bottom. That was my rock bottom. But I was, I was willing. Like I was there. I wanted to. I was just suffering. That's just all it was. I was suffering in my own body. I hated who I was. I couldn't believe I became this person, and here I am dying and not being able to get saved because of it, because of my own actions, my own everything. And next thing I know, I'm being set up with hospice and things like that, and they're trying to help me. They're putting all the things that they need to help to fix me, but it's not getting any better. It's actually getting worse. And then my kidneys, I drank myself to a kidney failure too, so my kidney shut down. Next thing I know, I have a dialysis port right here. You can see the scar a little bit, maybe, I don't know. I'm on dialysis, and dialysis, I don't know if anyone knows what that is. It's just brutal. You're just on a machine 3 hours, 4 hours a day, every other day. You can't work because you're there all day. And I'm on that. My liver's failing. They're trying to keep me alive. And next thing I know, I'm about to die. And this one doctor, who at the time I thought was like a jerk, because she was like, you're a goner. See you, buddy. But secretly, she was trying to like save me. She was like a very interesting soul. I guess I'll just leave it at that. So she actually called a colleague, and well, she didn't call her. She referenced a colleague that she helped train become a doctor out in Western Massachusetts here. And my wife and my mother and my father were calling hospitals all over the country trying to find someone that would take me, because there actually have been studies done that there is no correlation between if someone were to be 6 months sober before or not, like the level of the success rate of staying sober afterwards. There is no correlation to that. It's a trial by trial basis, so it all depends upon that person. And I was the person that was going to prove to them that I am that person. So eventually, that doctor referenced that other doctor, and we call over there, and they bring you in. And it's not just like, oh, here you go, here's a liver. It's not how it works. Like I had to go through all these psychological tests. I had to go through this crazy process of showing remorse, like authentic remorse, and being genuine and vulnerable at the highest capacity that's possible. And I really was doing those things. I was completely honest with my drinking. I was completely honest with how I didn't want to be this person anymore, and I just didn't want to die. I just did not want to die. It was such a scary thought. I didn't live my life. I was only 36. This thing got away from me. I was so remorseful of this whole thing. Like I was so shameful of the whole ordeal.
Well,
And
it just goes to show that it can happen to anyone.
yeah, I mean,
You're young.
it really can just happen to anyone. I mean, like when I was in recovery, because I'm heavily involved with the recovery communities now, and the people that I meet in these things are CEOs. They're very successable people, and they're all struggling. It does not matter like what socioeconomic demographic that you fall into. This stupid drug of alcohol will just creep its way into your life if you're susceptible to it, whether that be from a biological level or just your personality or whatever. So then that's what happened. So I get placed on the liver transplant list. It was brutal. I was on they gave me 2 weeks to live. That's how close it was. I had 2 weeks left of my life. And literally like the like couple days before I'm about
Was
to.
this January
Mhm.
of 23?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So January 27th, the day before my dad's, January 27th was the day I went sober. And then May 2nd, 2023 was the day I got transplanted. So I get in, I do all the tests. I do a stress test on my heart to make sure that my body's capable of handling the liver transplant itself. I had to do all these psychological exams. I had to talk to a team of doctors, explain my situation, advocate for myself, all these things. It's not just like, here's a liver. It's not how it works. You really have to put the work in to get it. I did it. I did the work, and then I go in, and I go. They're like, okay, we think we found a deceased donor that you might be a good fit for. I go down, and as I'm going to get my IV in, they actually put the huge needle in, and I'm ready to go under. The doctor's like, no, that liver's no good. That liver's no good. So they ship me back up.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. So it was really intense. I was like, goodbye, Dad. If I don't see you again, I love you. And then we cried, and I was saying goodbye to all my family members and stuff because I was very close to death. So I was saying all my like byes to everyone, like, I loved you, thank you for this, and
so
this. I was like,
can I ask? So from January to May, were you in the hospital?
yeah,
S-
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I was
okay.
basically in the hospital for a year, up
Oh,
until the transplant, on dialysis and everything, and just like just trying to stay alive pretty much because they wouldn't transplant me at the hospital, so that's why I had to go to the Western Mass one. And then I was at the Western Mass one for a while too. So anyway, so I get so finally the call comes. They say, okay, we think we found the right fit one. And I was like, thank God, please, like, I hope this works. And said my goodbyes again. It's a huge emotional experience again. I go down and I am in surgery for about like 28 hours, something crazy like that. I went to bed. They put me under on a Monday. I woke up on a Thursday. And I actually have a ton of pictures on my page that people can check out if they're curious to see like how I looked. Oh my God. So I come out of
it
the.
was scary. I saw
Yeah,
some pictures.
yeah, it's really intense. It's like it's not for the faint of heart. I'll just put it that way. So I go through it. I get the liver transplant. It's brutal. I come out of it. I look like a completely different person. I'm all this, my stomach was so big that they call it ascites. It's like the fluid that builds up because your organs are shutting down, and it has no way to process it. So it's just I'm huge, and all of a sudden, I'm like this, whoosh, like a different looking person. I'm the picture that you see on the page is actually me immediately after the transplant, which is like really crazy. I'm all like still very yellow. It's not like it just goes away. I look like I'm dying. I look like I'm in a casket. That's like how bad it is. But it worked. Like I got the transplant. I couldn't believe it. I'm still alive. I'm looking around. I'm here. I'm still alive. And then from that second, I look at my wife. We're both crying, and I'm like, hon, like I'm done. Like this is it. Like I will never ever even go near
Mm.
alcohol again. I'm actually gonna like dedicate my life to like telling people how bad this is. Yeah. Um, but the struggle was not over yet. So I'm in the hospital rehabbing from the liver transplant. It's brutal. It's awful. It's so hard. I forget how to walk because I'm in the bed for so long. So I'm relearning how to walk. I'm relearning how to write. I'm relearning how to speak. Like it messes with. That's how bad the alcohol affected me. Is that it like completely altered the way I can just function as a human. So I rehab, and while I'm in rehab, my stomach just burst. It just burst. People don't. I don't know why. It could have been the pain meds that they were giving me at the time that made my stomach burst. But next thing I know, my stomach did explode, and
Like
what happened?
literally.
Literally exploded, and I went to septic shock. And
Oh,
there was a 24-hour period of he's gonna. They would telling my wife like, oh, he's gonna die now, and then oh no, he might live. Oh no, he's gonna die. No, he
oh
might
my
live. So it was
gosh.
like putting my wife through like PTSD to the max.
Dude, that poor
Um,
lady.
oh, she's a saint. She's a saint. She's like Saint Maisa. That's her name. Um, and so that happened, and the doctor was really good. He's really smart. He goes, okay. He's like, I have this idea. He's like, we're gonna sew up his stomach. We're going to put it into the right side of my body. Give him an ileostomy. An ileostomy is basically how you go to the bathroom, and you go to the bathroom instead of going the normal way. So
Mhm.
they put that on me, and they're like, okay, this might save him, and it worked. It worked. So they put that life-saving surgery on me, and then once I awoke from that, I said, doctor, am I going to have to be using this for the rest of my life? He's like, no. He's like, well, maybe, but we'll see how you heal because we'll give you a colon 6 months to heal. So they did that. As that process is going on, I'm still doing dialysis every day. So it's like because my kidneys weren't working anymore, and I'm doing dialysis every day. I'm in the hospital still. So even after the liver transplant I just went through, now I'm dealing with this, right? So now I'm going through this. On dialysis. I'm waiting for the kidney transplant. It was hell. It was hell. And then while I'm on that whole year of introspective year, because I'm just sitting in dialysis after the liver transplant, so I'm feeling better. And I'm like, okay, this is my life now. This is my mission to just really tell the world about like how terrible this disease is. Um, and sure enough, it's time for the 6 months. It goes by, and then I'm doing all the work, putting the work in, like the authentic, true hard work to become the person I am today. And finally the day comes and they're like, okay, it's time to do the surgery. They fixed it so that I go to the bathroom normally now, thank God. That would have
I
been
was gonna say
terrible.
I grew up with an older guy who had one of those, and it
Yeah,
just sounds
it's
miserable.
it's
So,
it's awful. There,
and this was
anyone
all
out there watching that has,
self-induced.
all self-induced, all self-inflicted. Absolutely, you're completely right.
You weren't born with a liver disease or a kidney disease or a poop bag
No.
issue. Like you
Mm-mm.
literally.
Nope. Nope. So I get they call it a takedown ileostomy surgery, which is like so painful because they're literally taking your colon and like sewing
Ah.
back up to your stomach. I know. Trigger warning. Gross.
No, just like
um,
it made my body just like
yeah.
I
Well,
couldn't
it
even
made my body
imagine.
do that now, and I've been talking about this nonstop to like a million different podcasts. So and it still makes me do that reaction. So they put it back together. It worked. Thank God. And then but I'm not done yet. Still have to get that kidney transplant because those are gone now too. So and that's harder because a lot of people need kidneys. A lot of people need kidneys. So
But
that
don't you
was
only
really
need one kidney?
you do good. That's Hey, how'd you know that? That's really good. So yeah, you're right. So you only need one. So what they do is they actually leave the two that aren't working anymore. They just leave them in your body and they shrink to like a marble. People think
Oh.
they just like take them out and like throw them away. No, they don't. They keep them in your body and they stay there. So there's actually three kidneys in me and now one working from a deceased donor. And God bless those two souls that did that. That's a big component of my sober journey now too. Is the living with the grace and respect of the organs that were donated to me from two souls that I never met and I can't know anything about because of HIPAA violations. Um, so I wrote two beautiful cards to the families of those. That's what they let you do. They give you they have these organizations that you send letters to, and then those letters get forwarded to the families of the deceased loved ones. So that was a very hard. Those were extremely emotionally tasking cards that I had to write, and not had to, wanted to write,
Yeah.
willingly wanted to write. So I finally, so it becomes, it's March 16th, 2024. I'm ready for so this isn't that long ago, this is March last year. So I get the kidney, and that was a whole process in itself. But for the sake of time, let's kind of get through it. But it worked. Everything worked out. I got the kidney. I woke up, and then I just started this path that I'm on now of just healing, spreading the gospel of sobriety, showcasing like to the world like how truly terrible of a disease this can be. It doesn't matter where you are in life, who you are, what your occupation may be, what your lifestyle is. It will find you if you are predisposed to it and you have those personality triggers or personality um, whatever the things that draws people into alcohol in the first place, whether it be insecurity or whatever. Uh, that's what I do now. I that's what I do now. That's my life now, is spreading the word.
So, can you tell me, obviously, not everybody stops drinking once they get a liver transplant,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
unfortunately, yeah, you hear a
Um,
lot of those stories. I am not one of those
and
stories, but you do hear
karma's
those.
a bitch.
Yep.
So, anyways, sorry that I've known people that have actually had to have
I
liver
was just gonna say, I'm
transplants
like,
outside of
have you?
alcohol.
That
Yeah.
that pisses me
Yeah.
off to a level of I'm not just mad. I get like infuriated when I hear
Yeah.
people who drink after a
It's
liver transplant.
so disrespectful.
Yeah,
Um,
agree.
so anyways, sorry. That's a whole nother
No,
topic.
I'm glad that you
Um,
said it because that pisses me off. It really does. I can't stand it when I hear those kind of things.
so you chose not to drink after you got a liver transplant.
Of course.
Obviously, you were dead set on not drinking going forward.
Hmm.
it solely just because you were on your deathbed? Because that doesn't happen with everybody. Like there's many people that are on their deathbed and they continue drinking. Um,
Right.
what did you do? What did you do? Like
To stay to what do you mean after what did I
what
do
helped you
to
stay sober? Yeah.
oh yeah. Okay. So what helped me stay sober? So my wife, she's the angel of my life. She is my guardian angel. She went sober with me too. So which is great. She never had a drinking problem. She never had any problem. And honestly, that's what it seems like. But yeah, she went sober with me. So alcohol doesn't even stay in the house anymore. But I will admit, those first when you start to feel better and you start looking better, and you're like, oh, look at me, I'm like a normal person again, and you see those, because think about it, just because your body's fixed, like it's not like your brain is fixed. Like your brain is what got
No.
you into trouble in the first place, right? So I am super aware and mindful of just how serious a fallback would be. That's why I do things like I have my little gratitude journal that I journal in every day. I get up in the morning, I exercise, I put the right things in my body, I eat well, and I use this gratitude journal. Like it's like my Bible. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful that my wife didn't leave me. I'm grateful that I have air in my lungs. I'm grateful that I can smell the grass in the morning. I'm just the littlest things, right? And then I set my intentions out, and they're all healthy intentions of that day. And then I try to get through that day. And I check off the little things that I'm grateful for, like every day in my goals, and things like that. And I make them manageable. I don't make them too big, but I keep things in perspective. And I started my channel. Like that's a huge component of my sobriety.
Nice.
It's like it's a huge
It's your own AA.
it's my own AA. Yeah.
Hmm.
It holds me accountable. It keeps me engaged with people that are very similar to me. And it spreads awareness of what not to do. So basically, my life up until who I am now, I am a completely different person. I literally do everything the opposite of how I was doing them up until this point. So, and now I'm seeing a lot more. I'm just more at peace with myself. A lot more in tune with my emotions. Therapy helps with that. Um, Going to meetings help with that.
So do
Although
you go to did you do AA or did you do outpatient?
I
Like,
I tried AA so many times, and for some reason it just didn't click with me. I didn't find that I couldn't find that group of people of
mhm.
who I just could relate to.
Yeah,
On on the level that I was looking for. I don't discredit AA. I think it's a beautiful organization that helps a ton of people in a very meaningful way. However, it
but
just
it's not
didn't.
for everybody.
It just didn't click with me. What clicks with me is this kind of stuff, like what we're doing right
Hmm.
now. That's what I did. Even before I drank myself to the transplant. This is what was the most meaningful. This is what helped the most to me. So getting in touch with a community, it was absolutely instrumental in my sobriety. Um, and it continues to be so. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That like there's so much to this story.
Yeah, it's intense. It's intense. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's great that I'm now here in this position to kind of be able to showcase or tell the world about it, and just the horrible pitfalls that await you if you continue to live a life that like I did, and be not willing to change, and not open minded to the idea of vulnerability in oneself, because that's where I lost myself. Was I just did not want to own up to the fact that I really was an alcoholic, and I didn't want to admit that. And I think a lot of that had to do with the stigma of alcohol, its place in society, the the prevalence of it when it's the first thing that's offered when you go to a social setting. It's the first thing that
Yeah.
you get the person like offers you when you go into someone's home. It's almost rude to not have the some kind of alcoholic beverage for someone when you meet them. um so it's that's what I'm doing now. I'm just trying to kind
Well,
of that's what I'm doing now. Yeah.
it I wrote something that you said earlier. You said you were more popular because you
Yeah.
had a fake ID and you were buying alcohol. Like that's so
Hmm.
messed up. It's so twisted that you're popular because you're a drinker.
Yeah, isn't
Why
that
can't
weird?
we be popular without being a drinker?
Yeah, well, you can. You just need to be. You need to. you need to like who you are, and that confidence and that genuine genuine joy that you have in your life should be from a place of knowing yourself, you know, and knowing and liking who you are as a person, and not needing the alcohol to enhance it, even though all it does is just it just ruins lives like it did for me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, what about your friend circle? Did
Yeah.
they ever come back around, or are those just
Yeah,
gone?
the friend thing's tough because I'm still very close with all my buddies. You know, so I made amends. You know, I did like the thing that you do when you do the steps, but I did that step. That was like the one step that I really put a high emphasis on, was just going back, going through my phone and just calling people that I've either embarrassed over the years or just made a fool of myself in front of them, things like that, or did, you know, anything bad that I did under the influence of alcohol. That was a huge hard part of the steps, but I would say that it's one of the most meaningful. Um, and showing the appreciation to those people in a genuine, authentic way. That was very important to me to do that. And so now my friend circle is great. Like I still have my buddies from college and high school and stuff, and we're all a big happy group again. A lot of them, it's funny, it's interesting. Like a lot of them are actually, I've noticed a trend, whether they know that I notice it or not, but they're not drinking as much. And I think a lot of that has to do with me doing what I'm doing and telling my story.
But
And
they'll never admit that.
yeah, they won't, because that's the thing with sobriety, right? Like once they see me, because like every, you know, all my friends now, they're seeing me flourishing and thriving now, and I think they're getting that it's hard for people to see when people get sober. It's almost uncomfortable for people who aren't, or who are maybe on the fence of like coming to that self-actualization of like, okay, I'm drinking too much, I need to like maybe just cut it back. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear, that's the last thing they want to hear,
Nope.
because it's almost like showing a mirror. It's like putting up a mirror to someone's face, basically, when you see someone sober and doing
Yeah.
well. It's really hard for them to kind of grasp that idea of that I could do that too, or just not having the willingness to want to do that. That's the biggest part. Yeah, it's a little tricky.
Oh yeah. It's
Pretty.
very
It's actually
tricky.
really tricky. Yeah.
Yeah, I could go
Hmm.
on and on and on with that.
Yeah,
I
it's uncomfortable,
so
and you'll lose some friendships. Like, say if you decide to go sober, and those people aren't on board with you or whatever, who cares? Screw them. You know, like you're gonna meet some way more interesting people and create more meaningful friendships out of it, anyways, because you're coming at it with the clarity of a sober
exactly.
mind, and you're coming at it with the enthusiasm of being excited about life again. Because that's where I got lost. I just forgot about the beautifulness of being alive. You know, I really lost track. I really lost that that idea of how precious it is to be alive. And that's a regret that I'll live with the rest of my life. And I'll be on these, you know, my life, I probably won't live to as long as I would have if I didn't do this to myself. And so I'm going to be on this, you know, after you get a transplant, you're on these heavy immunosuppressant medications for the rest of your life. Like I have an alarm on my phone that I have to every single 12 hours take like crazy amount of medication, like crazy amount of medication, just to make sure that your body doesn't reject the organs, plural for me, in my body. Because organ rejection can happen a day after transplant, or it can happen sometimes 10 years, 20, 30, what, you know, if you live long, if you get to that point in your life and you're still alive, yeah, it can reject whenever. That's why I was so nervous about when I was teaching, because I'm still a middle school teacher. So when I was teaching and I collapsed 2 weeks ago, it was really scary, because I thought I was having organ rejection, but it was just stress because kids were driving me nuts. And I just had a kidney transplant, like not even, you know, like 6 months ago. I probably rushed myself back into the classroom a little too soon. But
Well, maybe your new puppy will help ease some of
yes,
that.
like
It
she's
looks
right over
like
here. Yeah.
she's mixed with a little border collie.
Yeah, yeah, her mother I think was a collie, and then her father is a lab mix maybe. She's very
Best
cute.
dog ever.
She's the best dog. She's being so good. You haven't heard one peep from her, have you? I
No,
haven't. No.
I have a lab I have a Borador. So
Oh,
border collie lab.
yeah. So that's
She's
so the
absolutely
best. She's
amazing.
the
High
best puppy.
energy.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't believe how good she is.
So
I don't, we got her 2 days ago. I haven't even had her for less, you know, more than 3 days. So she's just the best. She's just
yeah.
kicking it over there with her
Look
toys
at
in the
that. And
bed.
now you'll have more time for her instead of,
Yes.
when you're drinking, you just want to sit and drink
I
and
just
not
have
pay
more time in
attention.
general. I mean, once you go
Yeah.
sober, you just have more time to pursue the things that you have interests in, and
Yeah.
that this is
Which
like one of them.
which leads me to when people say, "Oh, it's boring without alcohol." Why is it boring? Because you're not sitting there drinking anymore. You have more time in your day to go do things
Yeah.
physically.
Physically do things. I know.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it's a beautiful
Uh,
thing. You never heard that. It's what I always like to tell people. Like, you've never heard anyone say, "Oh man, getting sober was the worst decision I've ever made." You never hear that. It's actually
no,
the best thing that you'll ever do for you. It's the biggest gift you can give yourself.
it is. I mean, I obviously I wanted we did this podcast and I really wanted you to share your story, but like we could totally talk way more about how you've dealt with all these emotions throughout all that's a whole other podcast also.
Oh yeah, it
But
is.
what message do you hope to share with others who are facing these similar challenges?
Get right away. First of all, admit that you have an issue. If it's affecting your life and your relationships, if it's affecting anything negatively, just if it's affecting anything negatively, which most of the time it is, whether that be relationships, your work, um, anything, your health, like any, if it's affecting like what time you're getting up in the morning, your work, like how much work you can be getting done if you weren't drinking. If it's doing anything negatively, first of all, notice that. Second of all, uh, open yourself up to being vulnerable in that position and say, okay, I need to seek support. And you don't have to like yell like I am to the world. You can do it in a very discreet way. And get in. And third of all, get yourself within a community of like-minded people who will support you in this thing. Because there's so many resources now in 2024 that it's almost incredibly. We're incredibly lucky to have the internet and to have these groups like your channel here and to have all these. So we have so many resources that we can fall back on and look at and look for guidance and help and support. Be open to that right away. Get those things done. And this is a very important one I want to mention. Get your blood labs checked and just get them checked and see if that your body is showing any signs of alcohol dependency, or if your liver enzymes, ALT, AST, those kind of things I was mentioning before, bilirubin, see if they're elevated at any, it should be zero point 0.8 to like 1.2 is where your bilirubin should be, well, for a male at least. I think it might be the same for a female actually too. But if it's anything higher than that, then that means that's signs of organ, liver, your liver is not working to full capacity. So
Mhm.
make sure you get a blood test as soon as possible if you think you're drinking too much. I'm telling you, that's very vitally
Wow.
important.
That is,
Yes.
I mean, a lot of tough stuff in this because a lot of
Yes,
people,
it's a
it's
heavy
all,
subject, and my story's heavy, and that's the thing. Like I like to kind of pre warn people when I get into it is that this isn't a fun conversation. Like now I can kind of be a little more light about it because I'm working it. I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm advocating it for the world with my channel and jumping on yours here. So yeah, I can be a little more cavalier with the whole thing, but the story's heavy for sure, and it's meant to be heavy.
yeah.
It's meant to be heavy.
Well, you don't want to be on your deathbed and be told not that you can't drink anymore and you're dying because you're drinking. Like stop
Hmm.
before you get there. Like
Don't
we
get
know
to
too many
yeah.
people that have died because of alcoholism and it's like
You
and
don't
we
want to
still
be in
know
the
people that
position
are
I was.
heading that direction and it's like wake the F up. Like
Hmm.
you're killing yourself
You're killing
because you
yourself.
can't let something go
It's
because you won't
poison.
ask
It's
for
literally
help.
it's literally poison. That's all alcohol is. Ethanol is just poison. Your body. There's a reason why you get all fuzzy and like, ooh, that's poison. Like that's
Yeah.
why that's happening. It's unfortunately, it has like a fun body, a fun feeling, and that initial feeling. But after years and years of drinking, it's not fun anymore. It's miserable. It's a
There's
miserable existence to be
there's
addicted to
literally
alcohol.
there's literally a channel this guy goes to the liquor store and puts alcohol into cars and runs the cars on them.
That's fun. That's really mature.
Well, he's showing that like how bad alcohol is
Oh,
for
I thought he
you.
was just messing with people's cars just to
Oh
like be an
no,
asshole.
no, no, no,
Okay,
no.
no, he's showing
He
him. Yeah.
buys he buys these
Okay.
old he
Now
gets
I
these old
understand.
cars and
Just
he
to show.
you know
Yeah. Oh, the cars are running
yeah.
on like as like a like
Yeah.
a source of
And it's
fuel.
like you're consuming that. And when I got further into my journey, I was like, holy shit. Like that's
Yeah.
so disgusting.
Yeah. I mean,
And
that's if it makes a car run like a combustion engine run, can you imagine what it's doing to your organs? Well, you got me. You can
uh
ask. Trust me, it's not doing a good thing. It's not starting the car of your life. It's actually crashing it.
oh my gosh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Um, I really appreciate you being on here.
Sure.
Um,
I had a great
and
time.
for people that want to find you, they can find you on your Willpower podcast on YouTube.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
there
So it's
any?
all one word. It's at the Willpower Podcast. And on YouTube as well. It's at the Willpower Podcast, all one word. And there's like a million Willpower podcasts. I probably picked the wrong name, but
You're Will Gordon.
I thought it was a cool. Yeah, I'm Will Gordon. That's that's one you want to look for. Look for this big stupid fat head with a big nose. And yeah. So that's the one. That's me. It's at the Willpower Podcast. So. Check
And
me out.
any other platforms?
No, I'm not too savvy with TikTok. I was gonna dabble with it, but then I took 1 second of the app and I was like, I don't understand what's going on with this app. Like this, it's just chaos. I can't figure it out. But I'll start to like implement that kind of maybe I'll take like a course or something. It sounds so old, does it? I sound like a grandfather. I'll take a course on TikTok on Tuesday from 3 to 4. That's like what I feel like.
Gosh.
But yeah, I'm and you'll notice on my page, like I'm still a newbie. Like I make so many bad edits and mistakes and things like that. I'm just, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting
hey,
progressively better.
I think a lot of people
better.
just look to resonate with you and to find a story and somebody to help. So everybody go check him out.
Yeah,
and,
please. I'd love to have you. Mm-hmm. That'd
and
be
like
great.
share and like all of our and subscribe to all of our content, because that's what helps us get the message out there more. I mean,
yeah, it really does. It helps spread awareness, and spreading awareness is like so key, especially for like the younger generations coming up. But the younger generations coming up, I'm noticing a trend where they're actually almost like the way that our generation, when we were coming up and smoking was not as cool anymore, it was kind of taboo. I'm seeing trends now. There's been studies showing that alcohol is actually on the decline with the younger, generation. What was it? The what are they now? I always forget.
I cannot keep up.
There's too many X, Y, Z, P.
I was born in the 1900s. That's all I know.
Yeah, I was right. Yeah, I was right before you, like a couple of years before you. So it was, but it is encouraging to hear those kind of things, those studies that kids are actually drinking less. I think things like this are actually a big reason why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
It was a pleasure.
And I look forward to coming on yours.
Yeah, I look forward to it too. I can't wait.